Welcome to this Windows and Computer channel, and just answering a few questions of people wondering, will there be a massive move of Windows users to other platforms due to the fact that Windows 11, minimum requirements, and also a lot of people, are seeing that, like we had that blunder that Microsoft had that froze Windows 11. So it gives the impression, and the bad communications of Microsoft gives a lot of the impression to people that, well, this is not for me, or this is, not going to work out, or this is another Vista. Well, here's the thing. First of all, I don't think it's another Vista, because it was very, very different. Windows Vista was done in a panic and was, from the start, a bloated system that really was slow. Add to that a lot of manufacturers didn't even sell PCs that were good enough for the minimum requirements. It all made a big negative point to Vista. There was a lot of things in Vista also that were, slow to updates and so on. Windows 7 is Windows Vista. People that think that Windows 7 is completely refreshed, it was Windows Vista, but they just, tweaked it and fixed some of the things that people were going mad over. And that is really the case. Windows 7 is Windows Vista, pretty much. It's just that they fixed whatever was, the problems, and manufacturers learned that, yeah, you got to put more RAM in those PCs if you want it to run. And the adoption of Windows 7, a lot of people liked it. And, actually, when you looked at Vista with its service packs added, it would run pretty much like Windows 7. One of the things that I would say about Windows 11 is that it is, not going to be adopted fast at a fast pace. I don't see this being adopted real fast. Not because of the bad communications and the blunders and the way Microsoft is completely unable to really talk about it in a easy to understand way, but mostly because we're not necessarily in that market anymore. When Windows 10 was released in 2015, brand new Windows, Microsoft was pushing Windows as something important. Something that has been kind of non-existent in the past few years. They didn't talk about Windows much, and they do much. Windows 11, a lot of people are saying, well, how come this came out of the blue like real fast? Maybe this thing is, rushed. I don't think it was rushed. I think it's very simple. Windows 11 comes from the fact that Windows 10 and Windows 10 X, which was supposed to happen at some point, kind of merged together. They started working on Windows 10 X. They realized, well, maybe that's not a good idea, and they merged Windows 10 and Windows 10 X together in what made Windows 11. Remember that the core of Windows 11 is still Windows 10, meaning there's nothing rushed. It's the same core in the majority of points. So there's nothing to rush. The code was already written. They just added a different interface in what we see in the different options and the transparencies and the rounded corners and the Sun Valley effect. Basically, the Sun Valley UI refresh is this. It's Windows 11. Maybe they did one thing, and it's that maybe at some point they thought Windows 10 was going to be this in one of its updates, and somebody decided, no, let's market this as some new operating system. So I see a lot of comments and a lot of people saying, well, it's time that people are going to Linux now. That's just not going to happen. And that I can bet it's not going to happen. It never did happen over the 15 years. Windows XP to Windows 7, lots of things didn't work. Lots of computers didn't have the minimum requirements. And there was not a bump in Linux. The reason why this is not even a question for me is simple: is that enthusiasts are the one that might dabble with Linux. I've had Linux machines here of all sorts of different versions of Linux. I honestly never really stay on Linux. I use it as a curiosity. It is uninteresting to me mostly. I come back to Windows because this is where I have all my software and I do what I want. People that think Linux is going to now take over don't understand what most people are doing on their computers and don't understand that the average user doesn't care. They don't even care about Windows 11. They just want a PC that works and does what they want. And to do that, they have to use Windows for the most part because everybody uses Windows. For the average user, Linux is something they don't understand. They don't even know what it is. And that's why there's no flock to Linux or anything. Same for Mac OS. People are saying, well, it's time to buy a Mac. Mac is even worse. The support for Mac is horrible. Support for Mac and, like MacBooks, MacBook Pros. Look at just machines that are 3 or 4 years old that don't even have the ability to run the latest OS of Mac. That's a good, you going crazy over Windows 11 minimum requirements. Look at Mac computers that are super expensive and that lose support real fast. Mac computers of 10 years ago are not running Mac OS, the latest version. They're not supported. They don't have updates anymore. Something that a lot of Windows PCs were able to do for a long time. The winner may be in the Chromebook market because I've been using my Chromebook for 10 days. I understand why because a lot of people say, well, the only reasons why Chromebooks have market shares because schools are buying them. Well, not just schools. In the last year, in PC sales for everybody, Chromebooks market share are up 100%. I mean, this shows that there's an attraction to Chromebooks for a lot of people. And the attraction goes to the fact that there's a few major things that they don't have to deal with. They don't have to deal with a complex system, which is Windows, which is a very big system with tons of things that you can do, but that people use 1% of it. Chromebooks, simple system, just, the bare minimum to run a system, go on the web, do email. You can do, what most people do, you'll do on the Chromebook. And this is why that market is maybe going to take some market share off of Windows. But for the rest, Windows is going to move on. And Windows 11 is not going to be a flop, but it's not going to be adopted as fast. Windows 10 for most people is fine. And regular folks won't want to go to Windows 11. They don't care, The only people that really care, and the ones that are passionate about it right now, pretty much are enthusiasts. Because the regular folks, they hear that thing Windows 11. They don't even know what a minimum requirement is. And they're just going to my PC works fine. Why, I don't get it. And I'll say it again because a lot of people are on the impression that, that minimum requirement is crazy. You know what? In 4 years, when Windows 10 support ends, we won't be even talking about this anymore. Most PCs in the general, population, most PCs in enterprise that are running now and have been running for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, they're going to be at 7, 8, 9 years. They will have been replaced, and they will be replaced. That's the cycle. The cycle has always been like that. There is, yes, a subset of users that keep their PCs 10 years. Absolutely. There are some people that, as long as it works. But I can tell you one thing. When people give me stats of, people don't change their PCs every 5 years. When you're a tech guy, you see what people actually do. As a tech guy, I can tell you that the majority of people that I went to see their computers, fix their computers. The majority of people have computers that are less than 5 years old. And there was a very small subset that had really old computers. Now, that is the reality of the market. And PC sales are down because people are noticing that instead of a computer, there are other things that do what they want. Tablets are for one. It could be an Android tablet, things like that. Maybe an iPad. I've seen Windows users go to iPads, but not Mac computers. They'll buy an iPad, for example. So it could be a tablet. Maybe their phone is enough. Their smartphone, for a lot of people, hey, you know what? I got my email on my smartphone. I can write emails. I don't see why I should have a computer. And once again, Chromebooks, the attraction of a very simple thing that isn't bloated with things they don't use, and that is extremely seamless in updates. No, Tuesday update, security update where you're like, well, okay, is my PC going to restart or not? Because there's that fear every time there's updates and your computer wants to restart with updates. I think that's where people will move on to Chromebooks. And Chromebooks have a lot of advantages because an inexpensive Chromebook can run real well. A $300 PC is a $300 PC. Old hardware, usually a little slow. And a Chromebook for $300 is fast, it runs, and it does what the majority of people do. Remember that the majority of people do very simple tasks on their computers. And a Chromebook does the job. So, forget Linux or Mac. People are going to either Chromebooks, or if they do arrive at the point where the computer, can't run Windows anymore, I think they're just going to say, well, maybe a tablet, or maybe this is going to be better, or this is going to do what I want. And they're going to move on to that. And don't expect Linux bumps or Mac sale bumps. That won't happen. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.